They came, they practiced, they conquered. We are having 15 million plus of user base across the globe. We are having now 60,000 plus course registrations in just last 1 year, including 10,000 plus article submission and 30,000 plus problem solved. We are having around 50 plus course launched, and including that we are also having 97 million minutes of time spent on our portal. That's how much our geeks love us. So this time we are making the resolution to fueling yours. So now it's time for you to choose either you want to become an expert in data structures or you want to excel in competitive programming. So now get set to explore in 2022 with us. So this year, learn, study, achieve and grow with Geeks for Geeks.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Geeks for Geeks. My name is Yash Dwivedi. Currently, I'm working as an associate mentor intern and a technical content writer at Geeks for Geeks. Today, we have a webinar with someone special, and the guest for today is Ishan Sharma. He would be talking about applications of Python. Before he comes in, let me give you a brief introduction about Ishan. So, Ishan is a famous YouTuber who has been working in the content creation for last 2.5 years or so. He has 3 lakh plus subscribers. Apart from this, he also has a content marketing agency known as MarketupX. So, I'd like to call Ishan to the stream, and you can also ask your friends to join in. Hi, Ishan, how are you?
Hi Yash, thank you so much for inviting me here. It's good to be back on the YouTube channel of Geeks for Geeks. Yeah, I'm really excited for this conversation. Python is something that I have been learning from the day one when I started learning to code. So it's an amazing programming language that I've used to build various different programs.
Can you? A lot of people know you, but for someone who is new and doesn't know you, can you please give a brief introduction about yourself?
Sure. Hi everyone, I'm Ishan Sharma. I'm a third year student at BITS Pilani Goa campus. I also have a YouTube channel with over 300,000 subscribers and 22 million views. I also have an agency called as MarketUp where we work with brands to help them build their social handles. And all of this started when I just gave my JE advanced exam and I started learning about Python. I just wanted to explore as much as possible. And so that's basically where my journey began. I have interned at some companies, some startups from my own college, and then I went into my journey of content creation and opening my own business that is MarketUp, my agency. So that's basically what my journey has been like.
Yeah, so a lot of freelance work and internships that you
Yes.
also talk on YouTube about on the channel as well, right? So,
Mhm.
I think enough people have joined. So, I'll today in this video, first of all, before talking about the applications of Python, can you just give the viewers a brief view? What is Python as a language, and how did it start? Just a
Sure.
little.
So Python is a great language for people to get started with because it's very simple for you to understand. As a beginner, that's what I picked up. I had some experience with Java, but I knew that back in 10th grade when I started learning about Java, I didn't know about the all the keywords that I was writing over there, like public static void main. I didn't know about that stuff. But then when I came into 12th, when I passed 12th, when I gave my JE advanced exam, I started properly learning about programming, and the first language of choice was Python. So I started it off, learned about the basic programming fundamentals like variables, conditionals, loops, creating your own functions, creating your own classes, objects, errors and exceptions, that sort of stuff. So all of this was very simple because of Python. Python is very much similar to English, and that's why you can learn it very
Yeah.
quickly. For any beginner, it's the perfect language to get started with, I feel like. And then you can slowly go for other languages as you discover more applications, as you want to optimize things later on. But I think it's a great starting point for anyone who's thinking about learning to code. Also, the best part about Python is the huge support of other developers that are already using Python and developers who are developing different modules with the help of Python, right? So what happens is that, number one, if you have any error in Python, it's very rare to find someone it's very rare to find someone who has not found an error that you also have, right? So I think that is the best part about it. There will always be someone who has already found that error, and they would be happy to help you out on platforms like Stack Overflow and things like that.
Yeah, so
Secondly,
huge community support is there.
definitely, definitely. Secondly, modules. So basically, other developers have used Python to build their own programs, and you can just import those programs or modules, and you can build your own programs on top of their resources, on top of their classes, methods that they have created for them. I think that is a great thing because then you don't have to write the code over and over again. You can just use those modules and you can build some really amazing things with the help of Python, which we'll be discussing in this whole class, right? I have experience of teaching students Python for the last 1 year, and I have shown them how to build all of these things one by one in every single session. So yeah.
So let's start with the first application, that is virtual assistant with Python using PyTTSX3 or GTTS module. Basically, the virtual assistant thing that is a lot in trend. What is the application of Python in that?
Yeah. So this was, I think, my first project that I made when I was learning about Python. I was always, amazed by Jarvis and Iron Man and stuff like that. So I thought of building something similar of my own. And the first thing I did is to go and take a look at Google text to speech module that we have with Python. And you also have Python text to speech recognition version 3, as you can see, right? PyTTSX3, that's what that is all about. So the best part is that with PyTTSX3, it's offline, so you don't have to be connected to the internet all the time when you're interacting with the virtual assistant. And with GTTS, you need to be connected because it's going to be like a API that does calls to the Google server. So it's like your Google Assistant that you have on your phone, but it's just on your command line in your Python code. So that's basically how that works. There are various things that you can do with the help of GTTS. For example, very simple example of that could be you can just say you can have a wake word for it. So I just said, hey Jarvis or hey Friday, whatever it is, and you can just tell them that I want to schedule a meeting for this time at this date with this person. And when you do that, it will automatically look at your calendar once you log into your calendar with the help of OAuth.
Yeah.
And after that, it will create an event for you automatically. So that is one big example of using virtual assistant to basically get stuff done without actually going into the calendar application and doing it yourself. Secondly, you can also learn about how to make sure that it takes your notes, right? So you can just say, "Hey Friday, take a note," and then it can automatically open up your notes app in your browser or in your OS, whatever you have, and you can just say, "Write down these things." Or you can just ask that, hey, what events do I have today? And it can just tell you that this is you have two classes today, or you have one event in the evening today, or you have to attend this workshop today because it is connected to your Google Calendar. So that is one more example of how you can use a GTTS module. And then just for simple tasks like, okay, what is the height of the Pyramid of Giza or something like that, right? So you can do that as well. There are various things that is possible with the help of virtual assistants, with the help of GTTS module. So that's what you can do. You will also have to use the speech recognition module with the help of this so that it actually captures your voice. So the way this works is that it first captures your voice, then it converts it into text. It sends that text to the Google server, and then it gets a response back, and then it converts that response into a .mp3 file, and then it plays that .mp3 file back to you, and that is basically how it all works. So yeah.
Yeah. So next application of Python is in building web servers. So with Flask and or Django. So can you throw some light on this?
Sure. So I have more experience using Flask because I think it's a lot more simpler to do. So with Flask, what happens is that you can very easily create your own server. So a lot of you already would have been familiar with HTML, CSS, a little bit of JavaScript. But then when you talk about the backend, you either have to learn about Node.js, or you have to either just do everything with the help of local storage in JavaScript. A much better way is to learn about Flask in Python. So with the help of Flask, you can build your own you can build your very own backend that would include both the server as well as the database. So with the help of this, you can create a proper website, like a full stack application. Flask is great because you can very easily create routes, and you can use the Jinja documentation and the syntax so that you can create templates for your HTML files that you're creating. So that's
Right.
what makes it really easy. The post method, get method, you can do that very easily, and you can use SQL Alchemy, which works really well with Flask. And there's a module called as Flask SQL Alchemy that you can connect with it, and you can just use simple SQL Lite databases. So that is sort of how you can store data as well of the user. So there's a lot of applications that you can have with the help of Flask as the backend. So yeah.
Yeah. So talking about the next application, that is pretty much in trend as well. I've seen a lot of project people are making using this. So that is building games with Pygame and Turtle. So can you tell us a little bit about this?
Sure. So I like this the most. The ability for you to make games with the help of Python is amazing. There is this really interesting module called as Pygame. It's basically like a gaming engine, but in a module. So with the help of that, you can very easily create games for your system that you can play, right? So these are games that are very easy to make. These are very simple games that you can make, and you can learn about the whole idea of how does a game really work. So you have a class, you create various objects with that class, and then you create that while loop in which the whole game lives, so as to say, right? So that's basically how that works. You learn about how to create inputs. So for every single key press, for every single mouse click, how can you detect that? And when that does happen, when that event takes place, what will you do as a result of that, right? Like what happens in the
Yeah.
program. For example, in the Super Mario game, when you click on the space bar, the Mario should jump, right? So that ability is what you can actually program with the help of Pygame. And it makes it very easily because you can just say pygame.events.get. So with the help of that, it's like an array of events that it gives to you, and then you can check, is this event a part of pygame.event.get? And if it is, then we can do this, right? So that's sort of how it works.
Also, one more thing, like I think this Py games and Turtle, they can be used by the students to make a lot of projects that they can showcase in their resume. So, can you tell them about some projects that they can make as a beginner or a fresher, so that they can use it in their resumes and that can create an impact?
Yeah, sure. So what happened is that I look back at my childhood and I found out what are the most popular games that I used to play when I was little. I used to play the snake game, I used to play the Flappy Bird game, I used to play those other games. What I would recommend is just think about that. Maybe it is the car racing game that you play the most when you were little, and try to rebuild that with the help of Python. And it is very simple because all of these games are probably 2D games, so you can build them very easily. You will have to research about how to make your own sprites, how to create animation in sprites. That means how do you loop through the sprites with the help of for loops and stuff. So learn about that and then try to build your very own game, right? You can build all sorts of things: Flappy Bird, Super Mario, car racing games. Angry Birds are also an example of game that you can create with the help of Pygame. You have to learn about the physics of throwing that object and how does that projectile motion work. But if you can learn about that and you can implement that in your game, then it would be amazing. Turtle is also great because with Turtle you can create some visualizations. So you have a pen in Turtle and you can direct it where do you want it to go, and you can create things with the help of that. So yeah, Pygame and Turtle are two great modules. I have spent so much time with the in this just building proper games, right? So first of all, it's very easy. You start off by declaring all of the constants, right? You assign the constants, then you move over to creating all the classes, and then you create all the different functions that will be there in this game, right? So let's say you have a simple game which is like a platform. There will be like an enemy. Enemy has multiple things that it can do. Enemy can walk, enemy can run, enemy can throw stones at you, or enemy can, like kick you or whatever it is, right? So you create those sprites, you place those sprites over there, and then in the while loop that you have, you also make sure that you check for events that are happening, right? So for the arrow keys, you can move with the help of that. So you create that in it, right? So that is one thing that you can do. Then after that, you have to create that redraw game window function as well, so that the game window that you have that you are looking at it can redraw itself. So
Uh,
that's basically
yeah.
what you should keep in mind.
So basically, there are a lot of opportunities for someone who is starting with Python to use Pygames and Turtle, because they can help you build a lot of games that will be good for your resume, right? One more thing
Mhm.
that I would like to tell the audience is that we have a Ask Me Anything form in the description, so you can fill it out, and we'll be taking questions from that for that you want to ask from Ishan, so that your doubts are cleared, right? Now moving on to the next application, that is building GUI with building GUI. So what's your
Tick.
view on this?
Yeah, so basically, GUI is the short form for graphical user interfaces, and you can build some really interesting graphical user interfaces with the help of Tickinter. Tickinter or TKinter, whatever you call it, but it's a very simple module that you can import in your Python program. And with the help of that, you can first of all create buttons, you can create fields, you can create labels, and then you can place them. So you have multiple ways to place them. You have the dot place method, you have other methods as well, and then what happens is that you can you can create full-fledged applications with the help of this, right? Let's say you want to make a simple image viewing application, right? Like you have Windows photo viewer. You can build that yourself with the help of Python and with the help of Tkinter and using PIL, which is the Python image library. So this is also possible. It's very simple to do. Just make a simple canvas, and then you can start on by thinking about where do you want to place certain objects. Like that could be like a button, that could be like an arrow, that could be numbers, whatever it is. So doing that can be great, right? So that can be one thing that you can do. uh, but yeah, that's basically what I have to say. Tkinter is very useful. You can build desktop applications with the help of it.
Okay. And like talking about the next thing, that is very much the libraries that are very much in demand these days, that is NumPy, Pandas. So analysis of data. So can you tell the viewers like how they can get started with these things and what is the
Yeah, sure.
application?
So basically, you can analyze whatever data set you have with the help of these three modules, just to talk about what they really do. So these are the trio that you will find in data analysis that you must understand, and then you can move on to become a data scientist, and you can build models and you can evaluate stuff. So with the help of NumPy, you can basically get data and you can arrange data properly in matrices, right? They call it arrays, which is just like a form, and you can create different multi-dimensional arrays, which are matrices basically. So that is what NumPy does. It has a lot of different methods, a lot of different things that you can do to basically, you can do a lot of stuff with the help of NumPy, right? So the list just goes on and on. You can find tons of articles on Geeks for Geeks itself about how to get started with NumPy. So that's one thing that you have. Once you have the data in the form of a proper array, that can be a two-dimensional array, three-dimensional array. Once you have that, the next step is pandas. So with pandas, you can manipulate data in a data set, right? So you have like a .xl file or you have a .csv file. You can take that in and you can implement various different functions, various different conditions with which you can manipulate data. You can pick certain parts of the complete data set, right? So let's say we have a list of all the students in a class which have scored various different marks in 5 subjects, and their roll numbers are given, their names are given, where do they live is given. Then we can create different conditions. We can say, let's say I just want to get, it's basically like a SQL query, right? So you can specify something and you can get all of the results that satisfy that query. So you can do that with the help of pandas. Then after that, you have matplotlib, in which whatever functions you have implemented for the data set, you can then visualize it in front of the people, so that they are not just looking at some charts, then they're not just looking at some Excel sheets, they're looking at proper visualized data, right? So that could be graphs and stuff like that, with which they can actually see how things are working. These can be bar graphs, these can be line graphs, these can also be pie charts and stuff like that. So there is a lot that you can do with the help of matplotlib. You just need to figure out how can you best represent certain forms of data. So
And
you can
like
do
one
that.
can
It's
get
especially
started.
important if you have like a machine learning model that you have run on a data set and you have some things to show. So you can use matplotlib to show that in front of the people. So yeah.
And one can get directly started with these libraries once after one has the basic knowledge of Python, right?
Yeah, definitely. You don't need to know a lot about objects and classes and things like that. Just learn about the basic Python programming fundamentals, and then you can get
Uh,
started with all of these different modules.
what are some of the projects that you think that people can make using these libraries? If you can suggest some to the viewers.
It just depends on what data set that you have. So for example, let's say you have like a data set of Pokemons, right? A list of all the Pokemons. So you can create certain conditions with the help of pandas, and you can get some data. And then you can use matplotlib to show that data, visualize that data. So the list just goes on and on, depends on what do you want to build. You can find Kaggle. On that you will find various different information, various different projects that people are working on. They can take different challenges, and that is sort of how it can work out.
Okay. So moving on to the next application, that is building ML models. So we're using TensorFlow. TensorFlow is very much popular. PyTorch also, Keras also is very much popular. So can you tell the viewers about this?
Yeah, sure. So basically what happens is that in machine learning you have two or three domains. You have essentially supervised learning, unsupervised learning, then you have reinforcement learning. So first of all, learn about what all of these three mean. You also have deep learning, so you will be building multiple layers of neural networks. First of all, learn about what are machine learning models, and then how can you implement a simple machine learning model in Python with the help of scikit-learn. You can get the data set, and you can use PyTorch or you can use TensorFlow to create a basic, simple model, right? It depends on what model you want to create. You can create a simple classification model, you can create a regression model. So it depends on what problem you want to solve. And then depending on that, you can build some really interesting models with the help of all of these libraries. So Keras is used along with TensorFlow. And with that, you can just create various different, it's very easy for you to create multiple layers of TensorFlow. Whenever you're using TensorFlow and Keras, you can very easily build a model. It's also bad in a sense because you don't get to learn the full picture. You don't get to understand the full idea of what machine learning models really look like. So I would suggest you to first of all build a simple machine learning model with the help of just Python, NumPy. That's it. Try to build that first of all. And then once you have learned about what it looks like with the bare bone structure just by using NumPy, then you can go on and learn about TensorFlow because they have a lot more abstraction. So with the help of
Right.
Keras, you can just say keras.layers and dot dense, and you can create a very simple layer. But then if you don't know how to make that from scratch, then you might not be able to solve a problem, or you might not be able to do something that is not given in your tutorial. So you might be watching some tutorial, you might be following some blog. They might tell you to do this, and this, and you will be able to build your model. But let's say you want to solve a problem yourself, then you will have to think a lot more about how these things really work, not just keras.layers.dense, but what does that really mean, and what is the true meaning of that. So you have to first of all build it from scratch, and then you can use these modules right there.
Yeah, so what you're basically telling us is that usually what students do is they follow some tutorials or some blog posts, but the situation there is that they miss out on a lot of basics, like how the thing is actually working, or they miss out. There is a lot of abstraction, and they miss out like how that is actually implemented by the developers who have made those functions and functionalities available. So that is why you are recommending that first of all they should start from very basic, and then like one by one they should be also knowing about the internal working so that they can build customized solutions based on them, right?
Exactly. Yeah, yeah,
Okay. So next up we have format images with PIL. So this
yeah.
also seems very
We have already
interesting.
covered this actually when I was talking about an example that you can build. So basically, if you want to build a very simple few photo viewer with the help of Python, you can do that with the help of PIL, Python Image Library. So basically, you can use this to do, first of all, make a simple photo viewer, or if you want to do anything with the image in Python, you can use this module. For example, let's say you want to make all the colors of an image black and white, right?
Yeah.
You can do that very easily with the help of OpenCV and PIL. So that's one thing that you can do. So that's what I would say. It's a very simple module that you can use.
Okay. And like the next up we have web scraping, and that is used quite a lot. Like I guess it's used a lot. Ishan can throw a lot of light on this topic. So, Ishan, can you tell us like how Python is used in web scraping?
Yes, exactly. So you have BS4, which is just beautiful soup, and you have requests, right? So these two are very important whenever you're building a simple web scraper. The basic idea is that you have a website, and instead of you going to that website all the time to check something on that, you have used this web scraper, which will scrape or get some information from that website and display it to you in your own program without the need of you going to it all the time. So that's basically the whole idea. Now, request is very important because that's how you will actually send a request to that server and get the whole. That is how you will get the whole code base, and then you can extract certain things from it. So that's basically how that works. It's not legal for every single website. Some websites hate
Yeah.
people who try to web scrape on their websites, but it is something that you can definitely do. One great example of doing this is to use Amazon and to make a simple Amazon price tracker. So you can do that. You can connect it. You can use the SMTP module that you have in Python, and you can basically make sure that, let's say you want to buy a laptop and your budget is 40,000 rupees. The current price of the laptop that you want to buy is 42,000 rupees. So you can basically create a simple web scraper with the help of that link. Just click on inspect element and find out the class or the tag or the ID for that particular price, right? So find that and then use query selector and then pick that one particularly. And then you can just create a simple if statement or like a while loop to keep checking again and again after every 5 minutes or so. And then find out if there is a price drop from 42,000 to 40,000 or even less, then send me an email saying that, hey, the price is now at at an all-time low and you can definitely buy it. So this is one simple project that you can build with the help of BS4 and requests. There are other things as well. As I just said, SMTP module is one thing. Or you can also make a simple program which will beep, which will have a sound effect whenever the
Yeah.
price drops. Right. So for that, you can use Pygame. You can just say Pygame dot sound dot mixer. So with the help of that, you can create a sound effect. So things like that you can do with the help of web scraping. So it's very important.
Uh, can people use it like for stock markets and like bitcoins, things like that, to just to
Yeah,
know
sure, you
that
can do that. So
if they are
basically,
using?
you
Yeah.
you can use APIs. So you can go to Rapid API. It's like a marketplace of APIs, and you can just search for NSE stock prices or something, and then you will find that API. You can just use that, and every single time there will be like there will be like a API call. You will get some data back from that API, and then you
Right.
can find out the information that you want from that. You can extract that information, and then you can always display that with you. That happens with the help of requests, and that is also helpful.
Can you suggest the users like web scrapping has been used a lot, like because data is the new well. So can you suggest the users some of the complex projects, or we can say bigger projects that they can make using web scrapping if it is possible for them?
Yeah, sure. You can do a lot of things with it, right? So let's say you want to download all the images of a particular Instagram account. You can do that with the help of web scraping. You can find out the ID or tag for that, and you can use that, and then you can run a simple for loop so that for all the different posts that it has, it can continuously get you all the images of that post. That is one example. If you want to build your own data set, you can also do that with the help of web scraping. So you can basically search for a particular data that you basic website that you want to go to, and you want to find out the data from that. Let's say you want to go to LinkedIn, right? So you can
Yeah.
scrape data from LinkedIn, and you can find certain information from there. You can make your own CSV document with the help of that. You can use the file input output module as well. That would also be great. So you can just store everything, and then you can get your CSV file that you can use wherever you want to.
So basically, a lot of projects, a lot of ideas in web scraping that has been
There's so
given
much
to
that you
us.
can do with that. Yeah.
Yeah. So the next thing is making chat app with sockets. Now coming to
Yeah.
this point before Ishan explains, I'll say that a lot of people are making chat apps. So Ishan, can you tell us like how Python has a different difference when making it using Python, and also let us know like how can people make their chat apps a little different. Like we have apps like WhatsApp, Telegram, and things like these, which are standing apart from other applications. So can you just throw some light on this as well?
Yeah. So what I'm talking about here is socket.io. It is a module that you can use to build a very simple chat app. So essentially what would happen is that you would have one You would have multiple clients and you will have one server. It's like a WhatsApp group that you can visit and you can post something, and then that would be available and visible to all the other people who are connected to that same server, so as to say, right? It's like a WhatsApp group, as I said. So you can build this very easily with the help of sockets. It's just like a 20 line code that you need to write to make it happen. And with the help of this, you can just make a simple networking project, right? So that's basically what you can do. How can you make it better? As you said, I don't really know that you can make it better. I think it would be much better if you make a chat app with the help of JavaScript, which is more suited for things like this. This is just for like a simple project that you can test out to see how good you are at building projects in Python. Also, all these projects, and I'm telling you, all these applications, it might not be the most optimal solution for that thing, right? So, for example, if you're building a very big game with the help of Python, it would be much better for you, saves your development time, and can be faster for the user too. A great experience. If you were to use Unity, or if you were to use Unreal Engine, you can use languages that are more lower level. You can use C++, you can use C Sharp, and you can build it much more easily. So I'm just telling you the different applications. It's not the most efficient, not the most optimal way to do it. So just keep that thing in mind when you're talking about these things. So yeah, but yeah, much better to do it with the help of JavaScript.
Okay. So like as Ishan mentioned, like if you want to build chat applications, then JavaScript is a better alternative compared to Python. So like it's not necessary that you if you have learned Python, so you keep on using it for every application. Like
Yeah,
there
yeah.
are technologies and things which require a different like every language has its speciality. And as he
Mhm.
mentioned that Python need not to be used in game if you are using building large games like you can take some examples and also chat applications like things like these like you or not only like it's not like we are talking about applications but that doesn't mean that these are the most optimal solution for a particular problem, right?
Exactly. Python
And
is best suited for either making servers with the help of Django or Flask, or you can build machine learning models. That is the best use case of Python, so as to say.
okay, so like as you have already answered this question a little bit, but according to you, which application has been the best so far that you have told us and why?
For me, I think I like making games with Python. That is very much for me. Like I love building games in general. I have also tried out Unity. I think that just being able to use Python as a beginner to make a simple game is amazing, because I think many people are drawn towards programming because they have been playing a game and they were curious. How did this
Yeah.
creator, how did this character move in this particular game? How did this effect happen? How did this logic get implemented in code? So I think that's great. You can very well get into Python very easily as a beginner, and you can build a game, and you would be a lot more satisfied with it, right? So I think that is the best for me, according to me. So that's what I would say.
Like everyone's dream is to develop games when someone starts programming, right?
Yeah, and then somehow weirdly enough we end up making websites and stuff.
Yeah, everyone starts with maybe tic tac toe and things like these, and then one goes gradually up ladder.
Mhm.
So, and there like these days there is a lot of opportunities in game development as well as we can see.
Yeah, yeah.
So now talking like these things are done, applications are done. Now the audience would say that okay, Ishan, these things are done. Every application that you have told that is perfect. But what are the resources for learning Python as well as the domain specific things like if there is ML, AI, and things like these, like web scraping. So how should one learn these things?
Right. So first of all, if you want to learn about general Python, you can either go to the official Python documentation. You can learn it from there. If you want to learn TensorFlow also has an amazing documentation that you can refer to. And then let's say you want to learn more about the different applications of Python, right? How I did it, I just went on and searched it on Google. First or second response I got was from Geeks for Geeks website itself. So I just started learning from that, and I found that it has like a huge list of projects that you can build with the help of Python. The way I used it was that I would basically just click on any single blog. I would look at the first paragraph of it, which talks about what is this project about. I would try to implement it on my own and see how well can I do it. which most likely ends up me failing. And then I would look at how is it actually implemented. And then I would get to learn a lot more about what did I do, what is the actual approach, how can I improve in this. So that is what I think would be much better for you than just looking at the solution and then just copying that up. So that's basically what I would say. Let's say you want to learn about building machine learning models in general, so you can go to Kaggle. Kaggle is a great website. It has data
Yeah.
sets, it has competitions, and you can build amazing things over there, right? They also have some great guides that you can go to. So step by step, it will tell you what exactly to do if you want to solve a problem. A very common challenge they have is the Titanic data set. So you can visit their step by step solutions for it, and you can learn about how to arrive at the optimal solution for that.
Okay. So, like, moving on to the next question, that is pretty much general but important one. Like, someone is asking how to learn as a web developer, and this has come in the Ask Me Anything form. So, I'll also suggest the audience to fill this form if they have any queries, because Ishan will be taking queries from this form. So, the first question is how to earn as a web developer.
Right. So I have a senior in my college. His name is Mehul. He's also building his own startup. But basically, with the help of web development that he learned in the last 3, 4 years, he started freelancing. So essentially, what he would do is that on Fiverr or Upwork, he would just list himself as a freelance developer, and he would just say, "I will fix your website." So that there are a ton of different entrepreneurs out there who want to either upgrade their business or start their own business, and they have a website that they built either themselves or they ask some developer to make it for them, but right now they are having some sort of an error with the website, or they want to implement something in the website, some widget, some sort of a whatever it is that they want to get done. So they can very easily just contact you, and you can get their job done in very less time, and you can charge very well over there as a web developer. That is one thing that you can do. Secondly, you can join startups as interns. You can just go to AngelList, you can go to LinkedIn, you can just search web development internship. Always make sure that you have something to show. Make sure that you make full stack projects yourself and then show it to them. Don't just make the typical to-do list. Make something different. Make something that you yourself resonate with. So do that and show it to them. They would be very much excited to work with you. That is the second way that you can earn as a web developer. Thirdly, you can take part in open source competitions. It's not really for earning, I would say, but yeah, it's just one thing that you can get. It's like a byproduct of whatever work you'll be doing over there. So that's what I feel you can do as a web developer. Then you can, of course, get full time roles. That is definitely there.
Yeah, right. So, also cold emailing, as you suggest, will also work in this case.
Yeah, that is a way to get the opportunity. I'm just talking about different opportunities that exist.
Yeah, right. So now moving on to the next question, there is a question that what should one expect in the interview as a Python developer when he's a fresher, he or she is a fresher?
They talk about reverse the linked list, something like that. But I don't really know much about this. I think many of them would just go towards asking you some DSA related questions. I don't have personal experience with this, so I cannot really talk about this right now.
Basically, if you have to tell, like, what would the startups or small scale startups who want to you to work from the very first day, what would they be expecting?
I think like if you know basics of Python, if you know about objects and classes, if you know how to work with large code bases in Python, then that should be more than enough to get you in. If you are going for interning at startups, it depends on what type of code base do they have. Do they have their backend in Django or Flask? If yes, then you are a great fit for them. If they have their own machine learning model, if they are more into like a machine learning startup, then you can definitely join them because you are learning Python, and that is what most people use for machine learning models. That's what I would say. It depends a lot on the what the project is all about, what is the startup all about.
Okay, like there is one question like way to learn Python free videos. So to answer this question, like I would say that there is a channel that is named as Geeks for Geeks Python. So you can just search about that channel and it will come out. And there are a lot of tutorials on various things that have been uh, made there. So you can just consider subscribing us that channel and learn from it. Now, next question that we have from the audience is that just give me a second. Okay, so someone is asking. Let's say that I have a MP4 video and I want to convert it into frames. So what should I do? So is it even related to Python? I don't think so.
Um, so you want to basically input a MP4 video and you want to get all the frames as individual images. If that's what you're saying, you can do that with the help of Python. You just search it up on just say convert MP4 video to individual pictures module. There would always be like a module that does that. You can just go to PyPI, which is Python package installer, and you can just search over there, and you can find something that you can use for that. There are tons of modules that are made with the help of Python, so you can find something definitely.
Okay, right. So another question that we have is that I have added from the form. That is, people usually try not to pay after receiving their website or the app from these from startup. So how to handle this?
Always take a advance from them, show them the website, but don't show them the actual website. Give them a video for the website, or just give them like the put it up on like something like Netlify or GitHub, and then just show them how the website looks like. Don't hand them the complete code base without getting the complete pay. That's basically what you should keep in mind. Or if you're using one of those freelance platforms, and don't have to worry. So basically what happens is that as a buyer, when I'm trying to buy some sort of a service or get some work done, I have to pay an upfront cost to the freelance platform as well, and they sort of become like the mediator, right? So they will make sure that the person actually pays you, and then they will give you and then it will give you their work to them, your work to them basically. So that's basically you should keep in mind. Don't worry about that. You just have to be careful in asking them an upfront fee, 50% advance. Ask that. If they do not trust you, they might say that, what if you just run away with the money, or what if you never respond, what if things like that happen? Then you can always just say that, hey, that means that you don't really trust me. It's best to not work with me because I'm not someone who you trust. So it's better not to work with me. Just say that and walk away. Don't worry about that.
Okay. Another question that we have is that Surya is a beginner and he's aware about C++. How can he get started with Python? So first of all those who are watching this stream, you can fill the Ask Me Anything form, or you can also comment down below, like what are your doubts, so that we can take up those doubts. Ishan will be answering those doubts. So Ishan, like what is your take on this question?
You already know C++ very well, right? So it should not be much of a problem when you go to Python, because it is like a abstracted version of C++, right? Python is written in C++. So basically it won't take you much time. You just go to the documentation of Python and you can get started. Don't have to worry about it.
Okay, so like also like Python will seem very easy if someone has learned the language like C++,
Definitely.
right? Definitely that will be the case. And uh, I'm very well. Surya is again asking. I'm very well about C++, but for campus I have to learn Python. Where and how can I start for coding purpose? Like
That is weird,
what are
because for campus placements, you would definitely need to learn either C++ or Java. That's what most of the people ask. All the recruiters are always asking you to solve that particular question in C++ or Java, because it's a lot more bare bones. You don't have abstraction. You cannot use all the different methods that you have for the lists in Python. You have to actually do all the things yourself in C++ and Java, and that is why they want to see how well do you actually understand it. So that's what I would say.
right?
I think you should ask the placement unit once again what's happening.
Okay. Meanwhile, I'll be asking some questions from Ishan. So you can just comment down below what are the questions that you want to ask him. Some general questions, some question related to content creation or how to get started after completing DSA. Yeah, there is one question that after completing DSA in Java, what's the roadmap to get an internship? So basically, he's asking that how should he get an internship? He has completed DSA in Java.
Look out for what are the recent companies that got funded, and then find out about the founders, find out about the founding team, reach out to them through email, or reach out to them through some referral connections, or reach out to them on LinkedIn, right? Just be polite, try to follow up as much as possible. and make sure that you get at least one person to respond. That's all that you need, right? Just get one person to respond, show them your projects. Once you have learned DSA in Java, that's great. But most likely, if you want to get startup internships, focus more on the projects as well, because that's what they want to see. They want developers who are ready to go on their code base. They don't want to they don't want to train you for a particular skill set or for a particular tech stack. They just want to expect that, okay, if we are having like a MERN stack project, you should also be knowing MERN stack at least when we are getting started, right? So that's what I feel like over there. So learn to cold mail and learn to talk to people, and then that could be great for you.
Like being active on platforms like LinkedIn and Twitter will also help a lot, I
Yes,
think, right?
learn in public. That is really important. Whenever you are building something, when you're learning something, learn in public. Just share whatever wins that you have, and that would be great.
Also, like profiles like LinkedIn should be very much in detail, like whatever projects you have made in Java, or whatever
Mhm.
are the achievements that you have done in DSA, maybe let's say coding profiles or things like these, right?
Exactly. So
So,
focus a lot more on building projects. Have like one or two good projects that you can go in as much depth as possible. What I have seen is that they really grill you on every single detail of the project that you have. So you better make sure that you properly understand 100% of the project and not just be 50-50 on it. Because if they ask you something from that project and you don't know that, then that just gives them the indication that, okay, you just copied it from some tutorial online. So that should not happen.
okay, there is a question that what is the importance of asynchronous programming with Python? And please share some of the good resources on asynchronous programming with Python.
I don't really know what you mean by asynchronous programming with Python.
Okay. Like this question looks a little bit incomplete as well. There's another question that I'm in my fifth semester, CSE. Now only I am going to learn Python from basic. Is it the right time to learn to advance and get into placements in my seventh semester? Will it be possible? Like
Going to
basically,
learn
he's asking
Python,
that in 1 year whether
right?
he will be able to do something in Python
It's not
to
really
get
for
placed.
placements. I think if you want to go for typical companies, you should really focus on DSA languages that are more suited for interview preparation. That would be Java or C++, right? That's what I feel, because they really want to test out how well can you actually solve something from scratch.
Right. Now moving on. There's this next question that I hope that it is visible. Yeah, interested in Python, which is most useful in companies. But my friends say that during placement, company won't accept it, so they prefer C++ and Java. So basically, again, as you mentioned, so like C++ and Java are preferred for campus placements and for traditional product-based companies. So what will you suggest in this case?
If you really want to go for Python, then you should probably search for companies that are recently funded, startups have that have a need for a Python developer, right? This is not existing in like US based companies that are in the US. So I have asked developers who are working in the US, and they always tell me that doesn't matter what language you choose as long as you solve the problem. And I always tell them what's happening in India. They're always like, that is strange. We did not expect that. Back over there, they just give you a problem, you can solve it whatever programming language you use. That's basically how it is different from like the US and India conditions. So yeah.
Okay. The next question is you have to suggest any best projects that Surya can do to put in his resume.
Try to build like a proper full stack application with the help of Django. You can also
Like,
use virtual assistant in that. You can also integrate machine learning project in that. So you can do a lot of different things, but then the base should be Django. And then built on top of that, you can make like some sort of a data visualization website of your own.
yeah, right. Now the next question that is that how to become a master in coding and what is the best language to learn, because I learned PSA in Java. Now confused what to do next.
Probably learn about JavaScript and then build like a proper website, learn about React, learn about Next.js, and try to build a proper Munstack application. And then that could be like a great project that you can put into your resume, because it actually, that's what most languages, that's what most startups have. They have like a website, or they have like an app that they are using. So JavaScript is great because you can learn it very easily, and it requires less effort in the beginning itself. So that is what I would recommend. Once you have learned about DSA in Java, get on to web development, learn about Munstack, learn about Next.js, and that sort of would be great for you.
Okay. So the question that we had taken
Right,
earlier.
right.
So he
Multi-threading. Whenever this happens in chat systems, right? So when I was talking about making a simple uh, chat app with the help of Python in sockets, so in that this will be there because you would be creating multiple threads. So one thread, so you can basically think of it like that. You will be having multiple different clients. You'll be having multiple. You'll have one server. You'll have multiple clients. For each one, you have to basically create a different thread. So that's where it is used, I would say, basically.
Okay. Now, coming to the general part, like Ishan, we have seen you that you have done a lot of things. Like you have been making, and someone is asking where to start. Someone is asking where to start. I think where to start with Python. He's saying.
Geeks for
You
geeks.
can- Okay. So, for
And
geeks
that's what I
articles would
used
be
to do when I was getting started.
okay. Yeah, because there are a lot of details given on the articles on Geeks for Geeks, so you can go through those articles and then you will be good to go. Right now,
Mhm.
Ishan, I wanted to ask you some questions. Like you have been a YouTuber since a lot of time, last 2 or 2.5 years since this COVID has started. Like you used to do it before. Like you, as you mentioned, you had already mentioned that you used to go to every room in the hostel and you used to ask your friends to subscribe things like these. So how does one get started? Like apart from the academics, how does one learn about things or explore? Like as we say in college, that explore as much as you can. So how does one get into the cycle of exploration?
Make a list of all the things that you want to do when you are in college. That could be maybe starting your own business, like a merchandise type business. That could be maybe starting your own tech business, a startup, for example. That could be maybe you want to get into different societies. Maybe you want to learn to swim. Maybe you want to get better at fitness. Maybe you want to, do whatever, right? Maybe you want to go do some NGO related stuff. So just make a list of all of those things and then just pick one by one and just get good at that, or just get going with that. That is basically what I did when I was getting started. First of all, I just wanted to improve my communication skills, and that is what led me to building my own YouTube channel. Right, I just wanted to improve myself. So that's what I did, and I slowly realized that I'm also impacting lives of so many hundreds of thousands of millions of people, and that is amazing to see. And that's what I just want to do forever then, right? Like, that is the best feeling according to me. If you can implement, if you can build something that could be like a website, that could be like a piece of content which can have an impact, which can have a positive impact on the life of someone, there is nothing more gratifying than that, in my own opinion, right? Like, you impacted someone's life positively. So that's what I feel is amazing. That's why people love getting into fang startups, because they think that they are contributing to a higher cause, right? Like, they're helping build Google, which is used by billions of people. They're helping build Facebook, right? So stuff like that. But yeah, think about what you love, make a list, get on with that. Don't worry about log kya kahenge, because no one cares.
या कुछ लोग क्या कहेंगे कुछ तो लोगों का मैं कहना So
Exactly.
which one is the best when compared with machine learning, deep learning, and web development? Like this is a tricky question.
It's not a tricky question. It depends on what you want to do and what you like to do more, right?
Yeah.
I have a senior who is doing deep learning and who is all into it. He recently was working with Microsoft Research in New York, and that's what he likes to do. And for him, that is the best thing to do. Then let's say you have another senior that I know, and he is all about web development. That's what he is doing for the last 8 years. He built his own startup on the basis of web development. So for him, that is the best thing to do, and he doesn't give much importance to machine learning or deep learning. He knows about it, but he doesn't focus on that because he likes to do web development more than that. And there's going to be scope for both of these things when we are going in the future, 5 to 10 years down the lane, right? So don't have such questions. What you should really be thinking about is, what do you like to do? What is more interesting to you, right? So think about that and then just go all in with that.
Okay. So, next question that I would like to ask you that if let's suppose that you were in your first year, or what advice would you give to your younger self, maybe when you started your BTech journey, like when you started your college as a fresher. So, what advice would you give to your younger selves, and what are the mistakes that you think that you had made there that that someone watching now or who's in the first or second year they can rectify it and build on them, like learn from them.
I think I would I would advise myself to open myself up to other experiences and not just limit myself to just learning this and like watching X amount of content about a particular topic itself. Like open yourself up to learning about a variety of different skill sets, not just web development. Maybe you can learn more about how physics work, right? Like just being a little bit more open ended works out really well, because whatever learnings you've had from that industry or that space, you can bring in here into your own thing that you are learning. That could be web development, and you can build an amazing application with the help of that. Programming is just a tool. What is more important is, what do you know about other fields out there, and how can you apply whatever you've learned in programming to build a simple project. For example, Mark Zuckerberg knew a lot about human behavior, and he knew that people would be interested in learning about other people's experiences and life. So he built Facebook with the help of it, right? Because he knew about that insight, and that came not by coding every single day for hours on end. That came because he had a psychology degree, right? He was just learning more about how the world really works, and then that is what like sort of clicked in his mind, and then he built that platform. So that's basically how it works.
Okay. And like Ishan, one question, like I would ask that you have worked with a lot of startups, as you mentioned. You have also taught at a lot of places, and now you have your own company that is Market Up. So, what's the difference between working for your own company, like building your own company, and working for some client or some big companies as a freelancer or a full time that you have
Yeah,
seen?
I think I'm able to help more people. So previously, what happened is that I was just working with one company. So I had one person to report to, and I was working on one project. Right now, as I'm having various different clients, currently we have, I think, 10 to 15 clients. We work with all of them. We get to serve all of them. We get to help all of them. And I think that is much better for me, particularly. Also, I have realized that it is much better because now you have the freedom to choose who do you want to work with and what type of routine do you want to create, right? So you have complete independence and control over your own life, right? Like no one can tell you to do to basically get this client or live in a certain way or get to a particular place or spend this much time doing something. It just depends on what you want to achieve when you are building your own business. So yeah,
Okay.
it is
Uh,
both good and bad, depends on
There is
whatever
a
person.
question related to this from the audience. What is your inspiration to start this company? Because I was inspired by you, so this guy was inspired by your channel and another channel. So, how do you manage your startup and college? Also, there is a zero-based attendance policy. Let me tell audience about that
Yeah,
in
yeah.
college.
So I'm not the best person to talk about management because I have a 0% attendance in policy in my college, so I don't have to attend my lectures. And I realized very early on that electrical engineering is not really for me. Of course, I can get into it, but I have realized that there are other really interesting fields that are much better suited for me. That's what I like to do, and then that's what I just devoted all of my time towards. Uh, what is my inspiration to start Market Up? That is Vayner Media by Gary Vee, right? So I was always watching his content and seeing what he is doing. I looked up at what Vayner Media does, and then I thought this would be great if I can do something similar from my own learning experiences, right? So I built my own YouTube channel. I was working as an intern to build a YouTube channel of some different startup. So I thought it would be great if I can take all of those learnings and help other businesses build their own YouTube channels. I was getting these offers, these job offers from like top edtech companies saying that we want you to work as like a growth marketer or work for building our own YouTube channels. So that is sort of when I realized that I can actually help all of them by building like a business and not being like an employee in just one company, right? You get to have more impact. So that's basically what I thought. That was my main inspiration of starting Marketer.
One question from the audience. The question is that as a non-CS student, is it sufficient? Is GSA and CS sufficient to crack product-based company?
DSA is sufficient. DSA and other subjects required. So you obviously need other subjects as well, right? They will be having like a MCQ round in the beginning where they test your basic networking, DBMS skills, OS. So that is also important as much as DSA is important. So
Also,
you have to
also doing
think
projects
about.
is also important because how will a company shortlist you? Because how will your resume stand out from the others if you have just learned about
Definitely.
uh, DSA and just those basic theories? Then in
Mhm.
that case, you should at least be having some coding profile, some experience of internships, or some one or two really good projects, full-fledged projects, which have complete back end and full end front end, right?
Mhm.
Uh,
Right.
there's one interesting question here that how I know my interesting field to build my own startup.
You don't know about it, you grow into it, right? That's what I have heard from Chris too. You don't find your passion, you sort of grow into your passion. So when you try various different things, you will realize that this is something that you like doing, and then over time you will refine it, right? So then you will realize that over a time of 3 4 5 years you end up with a business that you love to do every single day, and that is sort of when you know that this is the system that you would want to devote your life towards. So that's what I think.
Okay. So one last question for today that I wanted to ask you. Basically, I want you to give some advice or maybe something that you want to say to the audience that that would help them in building themselves better for maybe some placements that they are preparing, some startups that they are doing. So, what is that? A couple of things or one thing that you want today's youth to understand so that they can
Okay.
excel.
I just want to first of all say that I'm not someone who is a lot more experienced than you are. I just I'm only 20. I'm only in my third year of college. I'm not that mentor figure that you might be looking in for me. I just learn things from my own mistakes. I would just advise you to focus a lot more on delayed gratification, and if you can just do that, then life would be a lot more better for you. That is number one. Number two, I would also recommend everyone to open yourself up to different things, right? As I just said previously, I was learning about various different fields like video editing as well. So my skill sets are a lot more diverse. Yes, I am good at Python development, but I'm also good at video editing. I can edit some great videos on my own channel. Yes, I am good at the web development, front end development, back end development, but I'm also good at creating a content strategy for a startup, right? So I have variety of skill sets, and I think that when you're just getting started in your career, it's much better if you have these various skill sets than just having one thing and perfecting it right there. Like it is like that old saying, what is it called? Master of one, something like
Jack of
that.
all trades, master of none.
Exactly. The jack of all trades is better than the master of one, something
Yeah.
like that. I'm able to remember it right now.
So, thanks a lot, Ishan, for joining in today and sharing your valuable experiences with us based on Python and your personal things like your personal YouTube channel and the startup that you are doing. So, thank you for joining us and taking your time out for this webinar.
Thank you so much for inviting me here. It was great talking with you. Great to interact with the audience, share whatever learnings I have. And I wish all the best to everyone. 2022 is going to be amazing. Make sure that you focus more on learning as much as possible and then apply it, get opportunities, learn to cold email, learn different things, and just keep crushing it.
Yeah. All. Thanks a lot, Ishan. All the best for
Yeah.
the future.
All right. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Bye. So this was Ishan Sharma for you, everyone. So if in case if you have anything to say, you can comment down below and you can suggest like what we can improve in futures. And also make sure to check out the Geeks for Geeks channel, because we are also will be also having a lot of webinars that is between 7 to 8. So make sure to check them out. Apart from this, like make sure to like the video as well, because if you have stayed till the end, make sure to like the video, hit the like button. Thanks a lot everyone for watching and stay tuned. All the best.